Is Brock Nelson going to be an Islander after the March 7th NHL trade deadline? I don't know. Let's talk all things Isles with our Islanders beat writer for the New York Post, Ethan Sears, heading into the Four Nations face-off break. Live from Montreal, my man, 514 in the house. What's up, Ethan? How you feeling, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Brandon, for having me.
All right, let's go straight into this Brock Nelson news before we kind of do like a State of the Owls union address. He made some comments on his murky future with the franchise. I guess what's the latest on his contract negotiations heading into that March 7th trade deadline?
Yeah, so talking to Brock yesterday up here, what he basically said, he got asked what does he want for his future, and he kind of said he wants what's best for himself, he wants what's best for his family, and he kind of doesn't want to say what specifically that is at this time. And the phrasing he used was basically, everybody wants an answer. You can't always get what you want. I think a lot of Islander fans sort of took that as him saying he wants out or he's on his way out. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Um, I sort of am viewing everything he says right now through the lens of contract negotiations that reportedly are going on between his agent and the team. But the reality of the situation is that if Brock Nelson does not sign an extension by March 7th, it would be sort of irresponsible for the Islanders to keep him, because we've seen in the past where, they hung on to John Tavares at the trade deadline. Tavares was actually a lot more sort of upfront than Brock Nelson has been in saying in the media that he wanted to be an Islander. And then, he walked out the door for nothing. Brock Nelson is someone who, could get you a first round pick, could get you a decent prospect or a decent NHL player at the trade deadline. So to risk losing him for nothing, as much as Lou Lamoriello wants to keep this team intact, wants to keep Brock Nelson, I don't know if that's something that he can risk or that the Islanders can risk if he's unsigned here.
All right, a couple weeks away before that March 7th trade deadline, so all eyes are going to be on what they do with that contract negotiations. But there's even more on the rumor mill. It's been reported that the Islanders are having specific talks when it comes to possibly shopping D-man Noah Dobson. Can you give us what you know on that?
Yeah, so on Dobson, something that broke this morning and I confirmed in the last kind of hour or so here is that he switched agents and is now being represented by Wasserman. And in terms of those trade talks or reported trade talks, I don't know specifically whether, maybe there was a conversation with a specific team and that team asked about Dobson, or he was brought up in the context of, you know, a very specific discussion. But I don't think the Islanders are shopping Noah Dobson or looking to move Noah Dobson. This is somebody who's 25 years old. He's a restricted free agent this summer, and is and this sort of plays into the agent switch. You know, I think that the team probably wants him to sign long term, and it makes sense for everybody for him to sign long term. He's played heavy minutes. He's having a tough season right now and he's hurt, but this is somebody who is, can be a cornerstone of the Islanders' future. So if they're going to move him, I don't see how that makes any sense for them to do unless it's in the context of getting kind of, a superstar level forward in return. So, maybe that was kind of the context in which it was brought up by somebody, and certain elements of Twitter have kind of taken that to a next level. But it's certainly not my belief that the team is looking to move on from Noah Dobson.
Twitter, the wonderful world of Twitter, where everyone's a beat writer and accomplished sports journalist. All right, and it makes sense because both of those pieces are going to be needed for this team to make a run? I mean, when you think about it and you look at their record, the squad is still in the thick of the Eastern Conference playoff race. I mean, in fact, they're only 4 points out of a wild card spot. And that's heading to the Four Nations face-off break, which starts tonight, or it's already started. So what's this team have to improve on and clean up in order to make a run and possibly sneak into the postseason?
Well, Brandon, the first thing is just this sort of 2 week break is coming at a great time for the Islanders because, as everybody kind of knows, they've just got so many injuries that if they can even get two of these guys back, that makes a huge difference. It's 2 weeks where everybody can rehab. Hopefully a couple of these guys can get back and you can come out of the break, excuse me, and have, maybe a Scott Mayfield back in the lineup, maybe a Marcus Hogberg available to back up Ilya Sorokin. That makes a really, really big difference for this team going forward. And in terms of something that they, would look at improving, I mean, the obvious place to start there is the power play. They get back to practice next Tuesday. I guess everybody except for Brock Nelson, who's with Team USA, will be back at practice next Tuesday. And I'm expecting a lot of time to be devoted to the power play and to special teams. We've seen the penalty kill kind of turn it around. The power play hasn't really followed. There's been changing personnel. They've tried different units. Nothing has really worked. So I would expect them to really hone in on that power play. And that's something that, if they can even just get it to sort of a league average territory for the rest of the season, it would make a huge difference going forward.
All right, tonight we have the opening game of the Four Nations face-off. Good on good. Hockey fans are going to be excited about this tournament. So what are you looking forward to most?
Well, obviously Canada USA on Saturday night is kind of the headliner up here. But just sort of being even at the morning skates this morning and for Teams Canada and Team Sweden and seeing kind of the level of intensity, the overall sort of level of excellence that's out there on the ice. I mean, it's really exciting. I think these games are going to be just fantastic. I think the atmosphere up here in Montreal, tonight, obviously with Team Canada, is going to be really amazing. And we haven't seen this in 8 years since the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. There are guys, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, who have not played at this kind of level in this kind of tournament for their countries. So that aspect of it is really, really exciting to me.
All right, Ethan Sears, get you some poutine while you're up there, my man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, Brandon.